Illini football recruiting has been on fire this offseason, and you know what? They might not be done.
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. My name is Sonny Verma, your host here at Locked On Illini, where I continue to provide you coverage daily. That's right, every single day. There's no such thing as an off season here at Locked On Illini. All this coverage is provided absolutely free. The only thing I ask for in return is if you can smash that like button just so that I know you're watching. Today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the whirlwind week that we've had, essentially. I'm coming off one of the most exciting recruiting days of the year. Illinois football continues to ride a major wave of momentum. On Wednesday, the Illini landed two of the top prospects in the state of Illinois, defensive lineman King Liggins and two-way athlete Nasir Rankin. Those commitments marked a huge step in Bret Bielema's ongoing effort to secure elite in-state talent. But those weren't the only fireworks on Wednesday. Somewhat under the radar, and admittedly, this happened after I'd already finished recording the episode, so I didn't get a chance to reference it. But Illinois also picked up another potential key commitment from junior college standout Donovan Turner. The defensive back from Long Beach City College adds valuable experience and versatility to the Illini secondary. Turner was named first team all-conference in the SCFA Central League and posted 2 interceptions, 4 pass breakups, 30 tackles in just 9 games. He may not have been the headliner on social media, but I think this was a savvy pickup by Bret Bielema and staff, one that, who knows, could pay dividends down the road. You can never have too much depth in that secondary. And with that kind of momentum, it's no surprise that the Illini are now still firmly in the mix for another elite prospect, one with not just national credentials, but a family legacy in Champaign. You see, Jacob Eberhart is a name Illinois fans should get familiar with and fast. The 6'3", 200-pound athlete from Missouri is one of the most versatile and impactful prospects in the class of 2026. He's a true two-way threat, a wide receiver with nearly 800 yards and 15 touchdowns last season, and a defensive back who shut down opposing receivers and grabbed 3 interceptions. He's physical, he's instinctual, and already has a college-ready body. Ranked among the top 20 athletes nationally, the number 4 overall prospect in the state of Missouri, and Eberhart is being recruited by nearly 40 Division I programs. His recently released, he did this, I believe it was on Wednesday or Thursday, he released his final top 7. And that list includes Alabama, LSU, Oklahoma, Oregon, Nebraska, Missouri, and that's right, you're hearing about this on the show because that last team is the University of Illinois. So how does Illinois fit in with all this? Without the NIL budget of an Alabama or an LSU, or not being the home school like Missouri, how is Illinois going to stand toe-to-toe with some of these recruiting powerhouses in the race for Eberhart? One word, family. No, I'm not talking about Bret Bielema's Familly. No, I mean literally family. Jacob's father, Jason Eberhardt, played for the Illini from 1997 through 2000 and was a key part of the defensive front that laid the foundation for Illinois' 2001 Sugar Bowl team. That's right, that Eberhart. For Jacob, Illinois isn't just another logo on a recruiting graphic, it's legacy. And there's more than sentimentality at play here. Eberhart has already taken an official visit to Illinois. In fact, it's the only one he's taken so far. That's a strong sign of mutual interest. He's made unofficial visits to Nebraska, Ohio State, and a couple others, but Illinois does seem to have the most personal impact to date. If you take a look at some of the pictures that he posted from his official visit to Illinois, I thought it was a really good touch. They actually had a picture of him holding up his father's jersey. So again, you see the legacy aspect of it and why the Eberhardt family might be interested in a round 2 in Champaign. Now, where would Jacob fit if you were to choose Illinois? Most college programs, and including the Illini, are recruiting him as a safety or a hybrid linebacker. He's made it clear in interviews that he prefers playing defense. He likes the freedom and the instinctual nature of the position and his ability to disrupt plays. Look, at 6'3" and over 200 pounds, Eberhardt has the build and physicality to play in the box or roam deep. He's explosive with great ball skills and has already shown the ability to dominate at the high school level against top talent. One coach noted that he locked down a USC-bound wideout during playoff action. That's the kind of versatility and upside that NFL scouts are excited about. Landing Eberhardt would be a major win for the Illini, and not just symbolically. It would continue Illinois' push into the St. Louis metro area, a region full of Power 5 talent. It would give them a high upside national level prospect in the defensive backfield for 2026, and it would prove once again that Illinois can compete with the big names when it comes to relationships, player development, and opportunity. In the current recruiting cycle, Illinois has already locked down elite talent like Nazir Rankin, King Liggins, and Braden Trimble. Adding a guy like Jacob Eberhart would keep the Illini in the top 10 when it comes to national recruiting and maybe more. And also, just as important, it would show that family isn't just branding at Champaign, it's real. Now, Jacob does have additional visits lined up this summer, including one to Alabama. A decision likely won't come until later in the year, but for now, Illinois is in that top group. And if Bret Bielema and his staff can continue building relationships and reinforcing that player-first culture, there's no reason the Illini can't be the school that lands this 4-star legacy prospect. Now, it's funny, if you had told me 2 years ago that Illinois was involved in this sort of prospect, I would have considered it far-fetched. I would have probably tempered my enthusiasm and just moved on to the next 3-star. But you know what? With the week that Illinois has just had, talking about Nazir, talking about King and their recruitment, and just overall the offseason recruiting that Illinois has done so far, this is absolutely a recruitment that I feel like Bret Bielema can win. Would I consider ourselves the favorite? No. Again, when you're dealing with some of the blue bloods who are not just blue bloods, they're also some of the richest blue bloods in the entire country. And you're talking about Missouri, a team that also is winning double-digit games and being the home state school. This is not going to be an easy recruitment to win, but it's no longer an impossible recruitment to win. And for that, you give all the credit to Bret Bielema, that coaching staff, and what they've done to turn things around here at Illinois. Let me know your thoughts. Have you watched Eberhardt play? What are your feelings from this week? It's been such a hectic week, and trust me, a lot of Illini content creators got really tired of typing and going on camera on Wednesday. But you know what? It was a very good reason to do so. And if the reason we're getting exhausted is because of constantly reporting good news for the Illini, I think all of us are going to be okay with that. Let me know your thoughts on this exciting week for the Illini. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. And you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Me personally, I'm spending way too much money going out to eat. I got 2 kids. I'm tired. It's easy to go get food from the fast food restaurant. I know I got to keep that in check. And with Monarch Money, instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. And welcome back to Locked On Illini. A friendly reminder, we are in off-season mode now, obviously. Now, again, with Locked On Illini, that doesn't mean you're going to be getting any less content. What that does mean is that you can decide what the content might be. You can find me on your favorite social medias. Do a quick search for Locked On Illini or The Sunny V, or just send me an email at talkillini@gmail.com. If there's a particular story you want me to dig deeper on, if there's a sport that you want me to discuss a little bit more. Look, I've given an honest try over the past couple of weeks trying to talk a little bit more golf and baseball, which I don't follow myself, but if that's what the audience wants, and that's what they do want, because that's what you're telling me, I'll continue to provide it for you. So again, if you have an idea, I say it all the time. This is technically my show, but I want it to be just as much as your guys' show. So whatever you guys want to see when it comes to Illini content, you let me know, and I'll do my best to provide it. I did want to discuss before the week ended, probably the last time I'm going to be mentioning this kid's name, and that's Dame Sarr. Dame Sarr on Thursday officially committed to Duke University. It's a weird recruitment. I don't know how else to discuss it. There's been a lot of talk about Dame and Illinois. You know, I've talked about it a lot in this show. Because it was a recruitment for a long time I thought was going to be Illinois' to lose. And I think it ultimately kind of was, but Illinois decided to pivot away. And I'm going to tell you why, because it seems like there's a lot of discourse online and even in my own Discord. By the way, the link should be in the Discord. The link should be in the description to the Talk Illini Discord, where we're talking Illini sports all day, every day. We've got over 300 members. So definitely join if that's something you might be interested in. But there seems to be maybe a story out there that it was Dame Sarr who moved on from the Illini. And now that he's officially committed to Duke, I feel like I want to take a couple minutes aside to just kind of describe how this whole process happened, at least from what I was told and from my involvement. First and foremost, Dame was interested in coming to the Illini, and Brad Underwood and the coaching staff were heavily invested in Dame coming to Champaign next season. They all felt like they had a dollar figure reached, and that dollar figure was, let's just say, right around $800,000 to $900,000. Then it seemed like Dame started to blow up a little bit. He started getting opportunities to start for his team in Barcelona, which caught the I don't even want to say national, worldwide attention of schools locally. And with that came a rising price tag. Dame Sarr had a very solid Nike Hoop Summit, where again, he got to get in front of the eyes of a lot of prominent college programs. And all of a sudden, Dame's team was more interested in raising his price tag from getting to the point where the conversation came to doubling what him and Illinois had agreed with. Now, I think Brad Underwood would have still been open to bringing in Dame even at that new price tag. But at one point, I started getting the hints. And again, if you are in the Discord, you were the first person to hear about this. I was the first one to say the name Andrej Stojakovic when it comes to the Illini insiders and premium information. Mine is free. Well, someone had mentioned to me a name like, hey, they still like Dame, and there's still a possibility of him coming to Champaign, but Brad really likes another guy. And that's where the name Andrej Stojakovic, who at the time was not in the portal, but it was starting to be mentioned that he could be a guy that conversations are happening with and could ultimately make his way to Champaign. Well, there's a problem with that, however, because Andrej has proven himself to be a very good college basketball player. He's going to be entering his junior season. And with that, he was going to come in with a very high price tag. So now Brad and the coaching staff have a decision to make. Do they continue to pursue this recruitment with Dame Sarr, which they've been almost a year in on. Obviously, they've got the relationship through Kasper and that's why Dame was interested himself in coming to Illinois and following in his former teammates' footsteps. Or do you pursue this angle where a prospect has shown that he's interested in coming to Champaign? He has that previous relationship with Orlando Antigua, who recruited him when Orlando was in Kentucky. And Brad ultimately decided, and I've said this before, I think he made the right choice in going with Andrej Stojakovic. Andrej cost over $2 million himself. And so by taking him in, it became obvious that there was simply no more room for Dame Sarr. And now I don't think anyone should feel sorry for Dame, because if you take a look at his spring, his summer, it's kind of off-putting. Okay, first off, he left his team, Barcelona, and Barcelona was not happy. They didn't allow him to leave for the Nike Hoop Summit. Now, I justified it on this very show, so I need to take a little responsibility. If you follow Barcelona, at least the football team or soccer team, for depending on who's watching, Barcelona has a problem with not trying to have their prospects want to be exposed to the rest of the world, because they try to keep that talent in-house. And so I justified Dame Sarr leaving Barcelona by saying this is just another example of that, and Dame has the right to showcase his own skills and market himself, especially if Barcelona, which is his club, won't do it. But then I got to follow along a little bit on a closer level with this recruitment that happened with Illinois, where Illinois, after dealing with Dame and his people, decided, hey, you know what, it might be the right move to actually pivot and take the more established college basketball player. And then Dame, you heard Dame's name with Oregon. You heard Dame's name with USC. He actually took an official visit to Kansas. I believe it was last week. I talked about it on this very show that I would be shocked if he didn't leave with a commitment. And guess what happened? He didn't leave with a commitment. The recruitment continued to get weirder and weirder. And then all of a sudden, Duke, who had been in the picture earlier, once again entered the picture, because their transfer recruit, Cedric Howard, I believe his name is, well, he had committed to the Blue Devils, but it looks like he had a really good NBA draft combine. And it looks like there's a good chance that he might be keeping his name in the NBA draft. So now all of a sudden, Duke has an ample amount of money that they could spend on a big-time prospect. And lo and behold, Dame Sarr is that big-time prospect. So ultimately, Dame did land on his feet. I'll be honest, if I were Dame, I think I would have rather have been at Illinois. Brad Underwood has proven that he can develop these wings, and he would have been a bigger focus in the Illini offense. Whereas in Duke, he's just going to be another 4-star behind another 5-star. And I feel like his best case scenario is he's a complimentary player. Now, granted, Duke might win a national championship. So, ultimately it might be worth it. And just by being a Duke Blue Devil, your name is always going to be mentioned in the NBA draft. So in that case, maybe it did work out. But I think from the Illinois perspective, from the Brad Underwood perspective, things absolutely did work out. And Brad did make the right choice. Look, if Dame had committed here, that means we would not have gotten Andrej Stojakovic. And then I would be having conversations on this show about how I like the talent level on next year's basketball team. But who is the alpha? We had this conversation constantly last offseason. That's how I know. Because although we were excited about having Kasper and Will Riley signed in Champaign, I still wasn't sure who was going to replace from the year before Terrence Shannon Jr. and Marcus Damask. And while I liked what I saw from Dame Sarr in that Nike Hoop Summit game, I don't know if he had a game that was ready to translate to college basketball to be all potential Big Ten. Andrej Stojakovic absolutely does. I can comfortably say next year that Stojakovic is going to probably be the best player on that team. And Illinois has an alpha guy that they can count on when the shot clock gets low and they need someone to find a shot to make. That would not have been the case with Dame Sarr. And so again, I know opinions are divided and I totally understand, but I wanted to make a couple things clear now that his recruitment is officially over, that this was a decision made by the Illini, that they had wanted to go in a different direction for multiple reasons. they did feel like Dame Sarr was really in it for the money. And ultimately, I think he wanted to go to the NBA. He just wasn't invited to the NBA draft combine. But even after that, if you take a look at the schools that he was visiting, Oregon, USC, Kansas, Duke, all teams that have a substantial amount of NIL. And I do find it weird that all these teams were associated with him. And only at the end of May did he finally decide on which team he was going to join. I'll be honest, I'm going to be paying attention to how he does in Durham just because I was so close to this recruitment from the start. But again, ultimately, I think Brad Underwood and the Illini won this round. I'm very curious on your guys' thoughts. Would you rather have Dame Sarr or Andrej Stojakovic? Look, Dame has higher ceiling, right? He's the guy who I think could be a higher NBA draft pick. But I think Brad and the coaching staff learned their lesson last year that you can have some of the best prospects in the country on your team, but do you really want to trust two freshmen to be the best player on your team? That kind of leads to the peaks and valleys that last season was. It was an absolute roller coaster ride. I think Brad decided to pivot in a different direction. He decided to pivot towards experience. And quite honestly, I'm glad he did. And welcome back. As I've said, it's been a very whirlwind week for Illini football. And I feel like this segment here is going to be the perfect way to kind of cap it all off. And that was with a press release that was released by the University of Illinois on Wednesday. And in it, it read that Illinois football season tickets had been sold out. Here's a little clip from the press release. The Illinois football program has sold out of public season tickets for the first time in at least 20 years. Illinois has sold over 34,000 public season tickets, which excludes students and premium seating members. The Fighting Illini's final season ticket total for kickoff against Western Illinois on Friday is expected to exceed 43,000 people. How far we have come as Illini fans. I've talked about how we all have to appreciate the progress that Bret Bielema has made with this college football program. I know Illinois is by and large considered a basketball school. That's what most people pay attention to. Trust me, I know from the years of Illinois content creating I've been doing, always try to lead with a basketball story. That's no longer the case. And I'm not just talking about the views on this particular show. You can see it in press releases like that. In the past, I had a Nebraska friend mention to me that they got tickets for Illinois versus Nebraska for $7. And they got to come down to the 50-yard line because the stadium was that empty. How things have changed. And again, it's because Bret is doing it the right way. And now I'm just flattered. I'm so relieved. I don't even know what the word is, that the Illini fan base is paying the favor back. This football team is going to be really good, folks. Again, Vegas has the over-under at 7.5. I personally think they're going to win a little bit more than that, but they absolutely should be a preseason top 25 team coming into the year next year. There's going to be a lot of excitement, in particular with that Western Illinois game. It's going to be on a Friday night. That game recently got moved. So a lot of the Illini fans are going to be able to focus on just that game. There's not going to be a whole bunch of college football going on during the same time slot. In fact, other college football fans are probably going to be checking in on the Illini, knowing, hey, they're a top 25. Heck, they should be a top 20 team in the country. Let's see how good they look. Of course, they're going to be favored to win, and by gosh, they absolutely should destroy Western Illinois. But it's just nice to have the limelight. And it's nice to have expectations for a successful season. I've never liked going into college football season just hoping, just praying, please just get to 6 wins. Just let me see a bowl game. Let me see a postseason. It's incredible that in just such a short amount of time, Bret has changed our expectations. He's done his part. And now the Illini fans are doing theirs. Look, Illini basketball has no problem selling out. Football is what ultimately pays the bills. And I've said this on the show plenty of times now. in 2030 or 2031, whenever that next Big Ten media deal expires, I believe it expires a year before the SEC deal expires. There's a lot of rumblings that there could be a big earthquake when it comes to college athletics. There could be conferences disbanding and trying to figure out who the teams that matter are going to be. And I'm telling you, that's all going to be decided by the football side. And if Illinois had continued to having 25,000, 35,000 people show up to every football game, Illinois would have been an afterthought. But it looks like with the news that we got on Wednesday that may not be the case. That Bret Bielema is proving that, hey, if you build it, the fan base will come. That sure, you need to prove it a little bit more on the football side. That there's years of apathy when it comes to the football program. But that's also why this season is going to be so huge for Bret. I mentioned the 7.5 over-under. While I think they're going to win more than that, it makes me extremely nervous. Because, again, I think they should win more than that. But what if they don't? What if they do have those struggles? Is this Illini football fan base who's giving Illinois an opportunity this year? Season tickets sold out for the first time in 20 years. Do they come back next season if this football team disappoints them this year? I hope so. I hope that they're giving Bret more than one season to prove it to them. But let's just hope that the football team takes care of business, wins 9, 10, 11 games, and we don't have to worry about it. Thank you so much for making Locked On Illini your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Friendly reminder before I leave, June 20th, myself and a few from the Locked On Illini community will be meeting in Chicago for our first ever group outing. A bunch of us are going to the Cubs game. I believe it's a Friday 1:20 first pitch. If you can't make it to the Cubs game, totally understand. Don't worry. We're going to be meeting somewhere before the game and somewhere after the game. Just reach out to me on social media at any of the Locked On Illini or the Sunny V, or email me at talkillini@gmail.com and I can give you all the details. We have a lot of content coming your way next week. I always appreciate your guys' support. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.